I am by nature a very cynical guy, so when Toyota invited us to Scotland to sample the new Auris hybrid, all I could think of was why would we go all the way there to drive what is essentially a Prius in a different dress? We're at Findhorn Village, one of the most environmentally friendly places on the planet, to find out if I'm right or not. Whatever the outcome, being in Scotland is always good. Not that I'm biased or anything. Rather than being there to wallow in the history of the place, we're going to get a taste of what an eco-friendly future could look like. This village is home to around 300 people, and every single one of them is doing his or her part to reduce their impact on the environment. They're doing things like using solar panels to generate electricity. They ride bicycles. They cover the roofs of their houses with shrubbery for insulation. It goes beyond those simple measures though. The houses are built in a planet-friendly way, and some of them are even strategically placed to take advantage of the sun's position throughout the day. They also use wind turbines to generate power, and they create more than they use, so the village actually feeds electricity onto the national grid. And their work doesn't go unnoticed. They're officially partnered by the UN in their cause to raise environmental awareness, all of which doesn't have much to do with cars, unless the car in question is also a look into the future of sustainability. Usually hybrid cars have got this whole at one with nature, be kind to the earth sort of vibe about them, which I suppose is the point, and it's good if you're a Mother Earth type or a hippie or a celebrity looking for some good PR, but it's not so good if you love driving. But the Auris hybrid is changing all of that. From the moment you get going, it feels sharper and more responsive than you expect. In fact, the whole thing is most unhippie-like. My suspicions about this car being a Prius in a tracksuit were right. It carries the same engine and gearbox, the same power, and even the same weight. But strangely, it just doesn't feel the same. Well, most of the time. This hybrid driving thing takes a bit of getting used to. When you start the car, there's no sound. And then when you're crawling along in traffic like we are at the moment, you come to a stop, there's not a sound, not a movement, there's no sign that the car is alive. You put your foot down, and it sort of glides off. It's very otherworldly. If you're not familiar with what Toyota hopes will be the future of the automobile, their system combines a petrol engine and an electric motor. The battery-driven motor does the work at low speeds, with the engine taking over to deliver more go. The two can be combined to deliver maximum power. There's not much to differentiate the Auris hybrid from the regular version besides the obvious badging. But if you want to do your bit for the environment and have a car with a lower cost of ownership and you don't like the look of the Prius, which is understandable, the Auris hybrid is a very good second bet. It manages a far more everyday look than the other Toyota hybrid, and people won't mistake you for someone who's thrown all sense of style in the bin just to have it replaced by a thin veil of caring for the earth. I never was a big fan of the Auris, but it has a bit of individuality to it, and it's one of those cars that somehow looks better once you've driven it. Then there are those other Toyotas. You know, part of the joy of traveling to other countries is that you get to see what they drive, and by all accounts we should be seeing pretty similar cars here in Scotland. But then there's this, the Toyota Urban Cruiser. What on earth is that? I later found out it was a sort of RAV4/city car combo, and it looked, well, interesting, but it's not coming to SA. Back to the Auris, which is also not coming to SA. The Auris hybrid power plant has an 1800 petrol engine and an electric motor with a total of 100 kilowatts, 142 newton meters, 0 to 100 time, 11.4 seconds. And the all-important CO2 count for this hybrid car is 89 grams per kilometer. Let's put that in context. The Peugeot C1 has a 1-litre engine with half the power of this car, and it coughs up 106 grams per kilometer. I know part of the reason you buy a hybrid is to be more economical in traffic, but when you hit the open road and you floor it, especially in power mode, this Auris hybrid feels really good. It's got a great balance between a decent ride setup and good grip. In fact, it starts to become so much fun that you kind of wish the CVT gearbox had pedals behind the wheel. Strange things were happening in Scotland. The hybrid argument was starting to make sense, and then I started talking about a CVT gearbox as though I liked it. There was some more convincing to be done, however. The interior of the Auris hybrid just adds to the enjoyment of the whole thing. It's got good materials, decent ergonomics, and a spec list that's not really missing anything. It's even got sat-nav borrowed from a Lexus. And this little gearshift joystick thingy, as funny as it looks, is actually quite fun to use. In fact, quite a few things about the Auris hybrid are becoming fun to use. The combination of petrol and electric power seemed able to deliver just about anywhere we went, in the congested city centres, on windy B roads, or on the highway. And it wasn't just a case of letting the car do its own thing. On more than one occasion, I found myself concentrating on the instrument panel's graphics, trying to drive as efficiently as possible. No, I don't know why. This is a bit of a watershed moment. Well, it is for me. I doubt whether the world's media will care. But this is the first hybrid that I actually like. This is the first compromise car I actually enjoy driving. The world really is changing. Sadly though, it's not a change that we're making because we want to. Hybrid technology may not be the answer, and hybrid cars may not deliver the driving thrills we're used to, but they are a start, and they're getting more and more convincing with each one that gets built. There's still some debate about whether hybrid cars are that efficient, given the energy it takes to mine stuff for the batteries and then ship that stuff to the factories to make the batteries and then dispose of the batteries once they're done. But we really have to do something about the planet's addiction to oil. And what I like about this car is that it not only makes you feel good for doing your bit for the environment, but it's a really great car to drive. Hybrid power comes in the form of an 1800 petrol engine and an electric motor for a combined output of 100 kilowatts. The CO2 count is an incredibly low 89 grams per kilometer. The good news is the Auris hybrid does a great job of delivering a decent drive combined with planetary friendliness. The bad news is that Toyota SA has no plans to introduce the model locally.